All right, welcome to Invite Press. We are so excited about another new launch day. This one with one of our OG authors, Robert Johnson, Jesus Unchained, of the special new workbook edition of this book. Robert, I am so excited we're releasing this book today. Congratulations.
Hey, thank you. And I am excited too. Super excited about this workbook.
You know,
Yeah.
like we were talking about you being an OG author. We had this original book, Jesus Unchained. This came out in the spring of 22, April
Yes.
of 22, if I remember correctly. And
That's right.
back in the day, we were still doing hardcovers, so
We're
we've got
still doing hardcovers.
we don't do these anymore. So this is like a rare artifact right here. So it's pretty cool stuff. And we started. So we've talked a little bit about this. We started about a year and a half ago, realizing that there's a great need for workbook editions of our titles. Really helps groups, Sunday school classes, small groups, congregational settings, even private personal settings, one on one, like with a mentor protege, to be able to go through the work together. And so we've begun doing this, and a couple of titles out. Yours is one of the first ones, though, that we've converted to workbook edition. I felt like that this book is so timely. It's more timely now than the day you wrote it.
Yep.
And if there's anything that we need to get this book out in front of more people's hands, and so that's why we decided to do a workbook edition of Jesus Unchained. So here it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree. I think it's more timely. I'm so glad when we did the editing process with you and Lori and we went back and forth. And I'm so glad with the product we ended up with because I do think it's so timely and so relevant for where we are right now in our country. So had no idea that it would be more relevant 4 years later, but it is. And I'm glad we have the workbook format. I've had people. So as I've moved around, particularly at Resurrection, and people have gotten to know me and they've bought the books. We have Sunday school classes and small groups who've decided to use it. And I wish we had the workbook when they first started, but they've been waiting for the workbook and it's here now. So we'll start with them, and then I hope bunch more people will check it out. The workbook is so well done, and I just think it's gonna help people to not only appropriate the book but also dig deep into the whole subject of the relevance of Jesus for our time. So thank you to Invite for doing this second round of publishing for us.
Talk a bit about. Okay, you mentioned Resurrection. Let's catch up, folks who may not be aware. So talk about where you are, what your ministry setting, and then also what you're doing today currently.
So Resurrection is I arrived at Resurrection in summer of 2023. I think my start date was August 1st, and started out as location pastor at the Leewood location, and then was asked last year to go and serve with the launching of a brand new location in Lee Summit, which is either the second or third fastest growing city in the state of Missouri. It's a great community, and and Allie Drummond, who's working with me, we went out there and got started just meeting in people's houses. And Lynn, we're so excited. We are averaging right at less than a year in. April, the first Sunday in April will be the 1 year anniversary from when we first started weekly worship, and we're averaging right at 500 people a week, and it is absolutely exciting. And not just the numbers of in terms of worship attendance, but in terms of ministry engagement, small group engagement, service engagement. It is absolutely phenomenal what's happening, and I can't account for it by anything I've done or said. I'm just glad that God has included me in the work, but it's super exciting.
That is well. Congratulations on that. I know you've had a couple of changes. Landing there seems like it's been such a blessing for you, and I'm sure it's been a blessing for the community that you serve too.
I hope
And
so.
we've had kind of talk a bit more here about this. You mentioned that early on there were some groups that were doing this in class settings, originally just taking the
Yeah.
book and doing that. I wanted to point out a little bit about what we're trying to do with the workbook edition. So it's it used to be that sometimes you get a workbook edition and it's kind of like a companion volume, if you will, where you kind of really have to read the core book, and then the workbook is thin, has a few questions. We've designed these a little differently in that this is really complete as it is by itself. I mean, the whole thing is designed to be something you could go through from beginning to end.
Yeah.
So I popped open a random page here. So day 15, living unchained. Let me get it there. So some notes about unchained truth, breaking the chains, your reflection that you've written, and then unpack and reflect, so you can kind of do this in the setting, and write right in the book, so everybody can have their own copy. Everybody can dig into the words you've got here together, and then walk it out. A chance for to be able to respond both personally and corporately as a group. I forgot, they're speaking freely there.
And to speak it freely with the prayer, which are just, I just think, just help people to dig into the whole subject that I tried to do with the book. But I think the workbook is actually more practical and really gets to the core of what I was trying to say in the book. It gets to the core of that quicker, and it's more easily accessible. So I think it's a super great resource.
I gotta tell you, what you said, it's so real to me, Robert. What you just said, like it speaks better. I as a writer, I keep writing my books years after they're done.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Like, I can say it that way. That's so much better.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, good.
As a matter of fact, I still cringe when people tell me, "Hey, I'm reading your book," and so my first response is always a little bit of cringe, because I'm like, "What part are you reading? What part are you reading?" Because I remember, Lynn, the entire emotional, not just theological, but emotional and pastoral journey that we took together. And I was writing this book that came out of my heart, that came out of really a book that I had been working on for probably 10 years. I had been wanting to write this book about Jesus. And then you came along and just invited me into Invite, as you were getting going with Invite Press and not Invite Ministries. And then as we took that journey, you and Lori really pastored me in the writing of the book, because there was some healing that I needed to do. There was some processing I needed to do. And so you all worked with me through that. And I think we ended up in a really good place. But still, even now, I think back, man, I wish I would have said this differently. I wish I would have said that differently. I wish I would have gotten to the point quicker here. But I think the workbook closes the gaps for us, Lynn. I hope so. I think so. Yeah.
I hope so too. I hope everything that didn't make it in the first edition, all those shower moments, like, should have said that. we get them in there. Oh gosh, I want to pull up. You had some great endorsements early on in the book, and I wanted to pull a couple of these up. So, your friend Ed O'Malley, their Kansas Leadership Center, Jesus Unchained, will point us back to the true Jesus and inspire a faith that transcends politics, religion, and even our deepest questions about God. Unique and provocative. What a wonderful thing to say about the book. It made me reconsider what I thought I knew. My gosh, if you can write something that actually causes someone to reconsider what they thought they knew about something, is there higher praise to an author? I mean, that's incredible, Robert.
No higher praise. And from a great guy, too.
Yeah.
First guy.
Yeah, Clifton Black, a scripturally sound, trustworthy guide in following the one who breaks the chains with which we have all been shackled.
Yeah, my New Testament professor from back at Perkins. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's great. And then Terry Weems, this book will truly help to break the chains of bad religion, faulty theology, inaccurate history, cultural perceptions. Just read it.
Those are some great endorsements. They were. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I thought that they were all off the three you just read. I thought they really reflected that these guys had dug into the book and really had been impacted by it, and had the experience that I was hoping that people would have, because I wasn't trying to say I'm giving the definitive explanation of who Jesus is. What I was trying to do was provoke thought, and that's what these guys reflect in their endorsements. And that's really, Lynn, what I've heard over and over again, even from the people at Resurrection League Summit who are using it in a Sunday school class. It's this thing that it's making them think deeply, think more about, rethink who Jesus is. And so that was our goal.
Talk a bit. You posted something up this morning, or maybe just a little while ago on Facebook, a prayer from the book. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
Give that to us. What did you say?
So in that prayer, that was one of the prayers we wrote in the book. And I just thought it really summarizes, I think, what the book and the workbook are about. And it says, Lord, it is easy to believe that which makes me comfortable. Grant me the courage to examine my beliefs the chains that might be holding me back from the fullness of you. And even more, help me to unchain myself from who I want Jesus to be, and
Mm.
instead live in the freedom of who he is and what he has given to me. Amen. And that prayer, I think, just kind of like that's what this project is all about. So yeah.
And Robert, I just want to say that, as a friend, as a fellow minister of the gospel, I think you have led with such courage in your own life and in your work and in your ministry to help model for other people what that looks like, to let go of the comfortable Jesus and find the
Yeah.
true Jesus. That's a hard journey that I don't know that everybody wants to take.
Yeah.
And you've taken it, you are taking it, you've chronicled it, and I think that's what the book's about. So it's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, Lynn, I'm still looking. At some point, you and I, we have to do a podcast or some one episode podcast and just talk about the journey that that I've been on, that began really with you, and this process of healing and of letting go of idols and of rethinking and of hearing anew, that eventually helped to write this book, but then also helped to open me up to new possibilities and new opportunities in ministry that I would not have been prepared for had you not sent that. I don't know if it was through Facebook. Do you remember if it was Facebook or an email? I had posted something, and you reached out to me, and we made that connection.
I
And
think
that,
you said, if I remember right, you said something on Facebook about why our tradition, our shared tradition, only wanted to hear from African American voices on issues of racism, and why not other issues. And I think, if I recall right, I wrote you and said, "Really good question."
that's right. That's right. That's right.
And that's
And
kind of
then
how
we
it started.
started this journey, and the process of working with you, and the process of writing the book, working with Lori, just the entire journey, like took me on this journey. And that's what I've shared with people, that I began. It was almost like, Lynn, God said, "Okay, you've got all this stuff in you. Let me get it out, get it, get it written. Let's do the editing, and then I'm going to take you on this amazing journey to show you that as you're pointing out other people's assumptions, I'm going to expose your own assumptions to you,
Mm.
and then we're going to go on an amazing journey of transformation, because I think I'm a different person, a different pastor today than I was when when we first connected. And I think you've been a big part of that journey. So thanks to you and to Invite Ministries. I want to invite folks to go to the website of Invite Ministries. Amazing resources. If you're looking for practical resources that transcend politics, they get into the real work of developing people, developing disciples, building Christian community, I think Invite Ministries produces the best resources from anybody. Yep.
Oh,
So,
wow. Well, thank you, Robert. Gosh, for all those great words, and it continues to be a blessing to me to work with you. I want to one piece of logistical matters here. This, as it says on the screen there, this is only available at inviteministries.org. So your main book is available on Amazon, still continues to be. You both hardcover, ebook, and paperback. What we're trying to do with the workbook is to really encourage groups to use it. We've got bulk discounts on the Invite Ministry site, so if you've got a small group, 10 or 20 copies you want to, you can do that. But the other advantage is that more of the return from the book goes back into ministry when you buy on inviteministries.org versus on Amazon. So that's why we're trying to do it like that. So it's available at Invite, and just like you said, thank you for those kind words about it. Any last thoughts from you, Robert? As you kind of think through. I asked you when we launched this book 4 years ago, what are your hopes and dreams for this work? Now that we've done this workbook version, how would you answer that question today?
oh, my hope for today is that people whether they read this book or not, but that all of us who consider ourselves followers of Jesus, that we will do the hard work of really rethinking and clarifying, what do we really think about Jesus? And does that line up with the scriptural presentation of Jesus? Does that line up with the traditions that we've received? And having the courage, as you've mentioned earlier, Lynn, having the courage then to repent of distortions and idolatries around Jesus, and become even deeper and more so his followers, and to then let our light shine in the world as He's called us to do.
Amen. May it be so. Robert, congratulations. Love working with you. So
Love
proud
work.
of our partnership. Now available, Jesus Unchained, Workbook Edition.
Awesome.